All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a fascinating, massive sci-fi universe that is built entirely on 18th century philosophy. We're going to treat this as a mythic guide, moving through a four-act structure. It seamlessly blends the grand theatricality of a Goethean drama with the heavy, mind-bending metaphysical concepts of Johann Gottlieb Fichte. Basically, it's a reimagining of the biblical book of Job, but on a massive cosmic scale. Together, we're going to trace an ultimate journey, starting from a sterile, totally unearned perfection, all the way down to chaotic, violently earned freedom.
Our cosmic stakes get set instantly by a profound critique from our antagonist, or, maybe we should call him our necessary instigator, the jester. He throws down this massive challenge to a creator who thinks they are absolute simply because they've never actually been challenged. I mean, from the jester's perspective, this is the ultimate philosophical trap, right? You literally cannot know if you are truly free or truly absolute if you're only ever looking at a reflection that you completely control.
To really get the architecture of this universe, we first have to define the real-world philosophy that's anchoring the whole thing, Fichtean idealism. And actually, fun, surprising fact about Fichte, his ideas were so intense and radical back in the day that he literally lost his university job over them. He argued that the ich, the pure subjective self, cannot actually know itself or achieve real freedom in a vacuum. To prove you exist and to exercise your will, you absolutely need a nichtic, a not-self. You need material negation. You need a wall to push against. Without an opposing force, the self just stays completely passive and untested. So what's amazing here is how this philosophical framework literally splits the cosmos into two vastly contrasting realms. On one side, we have New Cana, which represents pure subjectivity, total order, and the absolute absence of any shadow. And on the exact opposite side, we've got New Eden, which is all about material negation, entropy, and total chaos. We're essentially taking these abstract metaphysical concepts of the self and the not-self and manifesting them into massive physical sci-fi planetary bodies. Let's envision New Canaan first. Now, forget your traditional idea of a cloudy, floating heaven. Picture instead a hyper-technological Dyson structure. We're talking blinding light, absolutely flawless symmetry, and a narratively crisp, orderly existence. There is zero decay, no randomness, no unexpected variables at all. Honestly, it's kind of like a cosmic homeowners association that mandates absolute flawless perfection, which sounds exhausting and totally sterile if you really think about it. The inhabitants here believe they are the cosmos simply because they named it and ordered it. But exactly as Fichte would argue, this is a state of untried, unearned perfection. It's just a world of pure thought and ego, with zero friction.
In stark contrast, we plunge down into the gritty, heavy reality of New Eden. This is a brutal world. It's mud, it's blood, it's evolution, and it's entropy, just hanging out there in the void below New Canaan. This is our nichtic, the material negation. It serves as this necessary canvas of chaotic, messy reality. And the crazy part is, the pristine spirits of New Canaan actually need this entropic world. Why? Because New Eden is a crucible. It is the one place where the absolute certainty of the higher realm can actually go to be tested, broken down, and ultimately remade.
And that brings us to our cast of characters. Their classic archetypes map perfectly to their philosophical roles in this universe. First, we have the sovereign intellect, the king, who posits existence just by declaring, "I am." Then we have the court, acting as the Goethean chorus or Elohim, who just blindly sing the praises of this perfect, unchallenged system. And finally, the cosmic Satan himself, the uncanny jester. He's the not-self made flesh. He's the literal embodiment of doubt, absolutely refusing to blindly praise a design that hasn't ever been put to the test.
Which brings us to Act 2, the Genesis wager and the crucible of New Eden.
So, a grand heavenly dialogue over the creation of the material world sparks this monumental Jobian wager. The sovereign intellect is up there boasting that New Eden is just passive proof of his perfect glory. But the jester steps right up and challenges him with a pinpoint Fichtean critique. He demands to drag New Canaan's untried perfection down into the mud of New Eden. His argument? The self only gains true freedom when it actually overcomes an obstacle. The king takes the bet, staking his absolute sovereignty on the idea that reason and virtue will survive, even when you strip away New Canaan's blinding light. Let's move right into Act 3 to see how this plays out through the Jester's 3 cosmic dances. These dances act as a literal Fichtean dialectic engine, violently pushing the material planet towards its evolution. We go systematically from the thesis to the antithesis, and finally, the synthesis. The Jester plays this massive philosophical drama out on the planet below, putting the inhabitants through trials that are specifically designed to force their self-actualization. It is very first dance, the thesis. The Jester forces order onto the material world. He masquerades as the savior or great philosopher, pushing civilizations to blindly mimic the rigid perfection of New Canaan. But the result is an absolute nightmare, a totalitarian utopia of pure reason. It totally suffocates the human soul. And this first dance brilliantly proves his initial point. Untried perfection, when you just force it upon reality without the choice of true freedom, isn't paradise. It's a sterile, gilded prison. Then he tears off the mask. We enter the antithesis. The Jester plunges the world into absolute negation and existential silence. We're talking plagues, systemic collapse, horrifying Jobian trials. He forces the inhabitants of New Eden to cry out into the void, demanding to know why a supposedly perfect creator is allowing them to suffer so deeply. It's brutal, but this is the ultimate crucible. This chaotic entropy is absolutely required to shatter their illusion of passive safety. Finally, we hit this synthesis. Through this terrible crucible of suffering that the Jester orchestrated, the beings of New Eden have a breakthrough. They realize they can't rely on the labels or the names handed down by their creator anymore. They have to learn to name themselves. By pushing through the agony of the material world, they achieve true, independent Fichtean freedom. They become a fully conscious self that exists entirely independent of the king's permission. The dialectic is finally complete.
Now for our final act, Act 4, the Uncanny Mirror and the Transformation. Our mythic parable culminates right here, with the instigator himself. The Jester faces his own ultimate threshold, in the dark, torchless corridors of the cosmos. He steps before the Uncanny Mirror. Now, this isn't a mirror made of glass and silver backing. It's a deep psychological threshold. It reflects a nature composed entirely of other people's truths. It forces whoever looks into it to see themselves not as they believe they are, but as they truly are. For a being who has spent his entire cosmic existence holding mirrors up to expose the flaws of everyone else, facing this reflection is a devastatingly profound moment. It visually and viscerally reflects every single grief he ever mocked. I want you to take a second and just let the weight of that realization sink in. I go, yet I do not return, not as what I was. The Uncanny Mirror is a one-way threshold. You simply cannot unsee the absolute truth of your own nature once it has been revealed to you through the crucible of your own actions. The mirror shows him something he definitely did not pay to see. But the Jester's final evolution is complete. He emerges from that corridor not as a different man, but as the same man completed. He shifts from being a cynic who just knew the truth and used it as a weapon into a being who actually is the truth. He can no longer be separated from his transformed nature. The fool who walked into that corridor leaves as something colder, something absolute. He physically becomes the embodiment of judgment itself. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought, drawn straight from the Fichtean dialectic we've just been exploring. It's the very core of what the Jester sought to prove. True freedom is never, ever just granted. It has to be forged. So ask yourself, are you a passive reflection of a rigid design, or have you earned your true freedom through the crucible of conflict? Think on that for a bit. I really hope this structured journey through New Canaan and New Eden has given you a powerful new lens on what it means to truly realize the self.